Hey, it's Sophia Wren, and I wanted to record this video about why I'm not on Substack as of now, beginning of 2024. And the reasons are many. And I first want to start by sharing a little bit about my journey as a writer. So I began writing, so I'm 36 now. I began writing pretty young and publishing online in my teens. And it wasn't until after college that I started taking myself seriously as a writer because the platform that I used, called Blogger, which I don't use anymore, I noticed that I had over 5,000 hits on my website every month. And it kind of made me take myself more seriously and be like, maybe I could make a career out of this, or maybe I could actually make money from this, and it's not just a hobby. But then I started changing my behavior a lot, and I don't know how I feel about that. I want to do this right. So I started reading all of the advice for writers, and so much of it was telling me to market myself. And that really pushed me to show up more and to show up on social media, to refer people to my blog and to create my own audience there. And then I started my own business, and then that's again important to market yourself. So again, I started to learn about marketing. I started to learn about showing up and really pushing my edges in terms of how much I was going to show up, because I was very more like a hidden person, like person with a lot of bad things that had happened, who did not like showing up in the spotlight anymore. Like, I do love being in the spotlight, but so many bad things had happened. I had a lot of trauma around it. And to this day, I still have a lot of trauma around it because it's not the kind that just goes away. It's way too intense for that. So it was really hard, but I'm thankful for that time period. I'm thankful for that desire to kind of be famous and kind of be known as a writer, as an entrepreneur, and to reach a huge audience, because it gave me a reason to get outside of my box and outside of my comfort zone. But I will say that has changed. So like, I think one of the pros for Substack for a lot of people is this ability to reach a lot of people. But to me, it kind of feels like going backwards, because I've been on another third-party site where I've built my empire on another platform and then had to move from there to my own site. And when you've done that like once or twice, or I don't know, I just have such a fatigue of this whole idea of like building an empire on a platform and then moving it off. And since it took so much investment and time and energy to create my own website, create my own blog, create my own email newsletter, create my own universe that I own, that's separate and my own, like, I don't want to dismantle that. So for me, Substack is not appealing for that reason. But the other reason also is that I no longer have the same relationship with the desire to grow my audience. And this could change. I could change my mind about this. But I feel like a few years ago when I turned 30, I'm 36 now, but when I turned 30, I had been doing this a while with writing and having a business and trying to put my name out there. And I had made traction and everything, but I still was not at that point where I wanted to be. And I think I had like a little bit of like a come to Jesus moment of like a crisis of like, why do I want the things I want, And I kind of realized that underneath everything, I was looking for a sense of safety and love through my writing career. I wanted to have that acceptance, that fame, that success for what I see now are not good reasons. Some would say the wrong reasons because of the traumatic things I've experienced in my life. It felt like the balm or the medicine to those things. So I don't really feel like it was the right environment for me to really bloom, because the problem with like pursuing a big audience is that for someone who is like has a history of people pleasing, then I'm trying to please like thousands of people in my imagination, and it can really, I don't know. And I think that as I've grown older, I've started to kind of go the other way again, where before I was trying to stretch out and expand and overcome my comfort levels and stuff. that's great. I grew a lot, but now I'm kind of at the point now where I'm like, there's something to be said for privacy. There's something to be said for space, because the more I try to show up in these things like social media, it drains my energy by pulling my attention to other things. And instead of writing a book, I'm writing a two-sentence summary of something. And it takes energy for me to condense things into microscopic little pieces, and then wasting it on something that's going to be here today, gone tomorrow. So anyway, it's just not the best use of my time and attention. But because I was kind of in this hamster wheel of wanting this sense of safety and love and validation from telling people about my writing or sharing my writing or talking about my business and sharing my business and like sharing myself, like all of it was very connected to my career, from having a personal brand, from having it all connected to me, like all of it, it just kind of became kind of toxic to be addicted to this cycle of marketing myself, which was supposed to be for my career and for my writing. But what I felt like in the end, it was trapping me at a certain plateau of evolution, trapping me in a certain wheel. And so as I start to analyze like the popularity of Substack happening, I started to hear some things that were important data bites that I do think are willing, I do think it's worth understanding some of the kind of, I don't know, political choices that the platform founders have made, and philosophical choices platform founders have made, which has come into more scrutiny recently. But I was aware of some of these things in early 2022. But I'm going to be honest, the real reason why I am not willing to, I guess, sacrifice my own principles to be a part of Substack is because the benefits that so many people see of having a wide audience and growth and all those things is not that important to me. It is not that important to me as a writer to pursue a fast growth and a ton of eyes on my work, on my writing, on me. And in fact, I've known people who have found that kind of fast growth has been very stressful for them. And I suspect I would be the same, because I think it would trigger things for me. I think that it might cause me to engage in kind of people pleasing again and seeking validation and becoming addicted to that. And what I want to do going into 2024 and then the future, again, I might change my mind, but what I want to do is to explore the reaches and the spaces that have been deprioritized. The desires that have to do more with myself and not just chasing numbers of followers and likes and all that. I do enjoy making authentic connections with individuals, but I can't focus on individuals if I'm focused on constant growth in thousands, I'm having difficulty kind of putting all of this into words, but I'm doing my best. It just feels like it's time for me to explore having space, and I will still continue to write, and I have an email newsletter that goes out every week, and I have articles that I publish and all of that, but I'm really trying to carve out space to not pressure myself into being marketable and appealing to masses of folks. I want to appeal to the people that I appeal to by being myself, and not being myself for the purposes of everyone looking at me, but like just literally being myself. Like I might just be in my house, just chilling by my Christmas tree, and y'all might not see me for a couple days. But I might be doing stuff, or I might not be. But like, I'm happy. Like, I deserve that. Like, it has been so hard, you guys, these last few years. I mean, it's a story for another day, but just like, oh my God, the pressures that I have had on me. So anyway, this is supposed to be about Substack. But anyway, yeah, like, but I do feel like if you're going to use it, A lot of people have asked me about Substack because I help a lot of writers do things. And I think if you're going to use it, just use, know what you're getting into. So I wanted to make this video about Substack, but then I started thinking about every single person, every single argument for or against it. And you know what, honestly, I just am not prepared to tackle that kind of 3D chess game right now. But I wanted to share, like, for me, there's a couple of data points that have become more obvious. There was an Atlantic article about the Nazi problem that it has. And so it's become a lot more, top of mind for people that Substack is bad. I wrote this whole outline of like all these things about it that you should know, and you probably should, and maybe I'll publish that. But I just feel like, I think for some, everyone's going to make their own decisions, but for some people, writing is their bread and butter, and so they don't want to give it up. They don't want to give up the money that it brings them, or even just like not being able to reach an audience. I mean, with algorithms and stuff today, it can be so difficult to have anyone pay attention to your words. And so this is something for them. Financially, having a website, having an email newsletter costs money, and it's an investment to do that, to maintain that. But the issue I have with Substack is that there are some really mean people on there. The commenters, some of them are really, really mean. Also, they've never made a profit as a business, so I don't know how long they're going to be there. They have like weird rules around who you can block. So as far as I know, people can follow you around in the comments of different Substack writers. So when you try to leave a comment, they could follow you around and like leave me comments. And you can't like block them the same way that you can on like Facebook and other platforms. And I really don't feel safe in that kind of environment. So that is not for me. But I do have an account as a reader. I just, God forbid, I don't imagine that I will be creating my own Substack newsletter. But I wanted to create this video just because I don't feel like I can judge others for having a Substack, even though I don't use Substack. I feel like this is a personal choice that every writer or entrepreneur needs to make, and it's not really for me to judge that, although I will be honest, the whole thing does make me feel really weird. Just like knowing that Substack allows people to be like outright Nazis with Adolf Hitler images there, and then they can charge money for their newsletter and like make a profit using that website. I mean, it just to me is like, freedom of speech is one thing, but it's like a website that you own, that you could decide what you want to have on there or not, especially considering that people get paid from it. And so like to know that like somebody can just create like something really hateful and then like cash checks is weird to me, to know that like if my company was like a part of that, I would feel very weirded out and I wouldn't like that. So there's no, anyway. But at the same time, people are like, oh, it's a slippery slope. If you start censoring the Nazis, you'll have to censor everyone. That's not actually true. I feel like the line is pretty clear. Like, don't idolize Hitler on your website. Like, that seems like a pretty clear line. That's all people are asking for. That, like if I feel like we need to have some standards, and they have some standards that have to do with like sexual content. They don't want any sexual content writing on their website. So like that's okay to ban, but like hate speech is not okay to ban. Do you see what I'm saying? Like I feel like it is actually possible to draw lines sometimes. I think that the issue is some people don't like lines that have been drawn other places, and so they are afraid that if a platform begins drawing lines, it'll end up being something they don't like. But the thing is that it has drawn lines, and some people don't like where it is regardless. And I am one of those people. I don't like the lines that Substack has drawn about what it will allow and what it won't, what it monetizes and what it doesn't. And another thing that I really don't like is that when it was created, they gave certain writers money to be a part of Substack, to draw them there, to lure them there onto the platform and write for them. And one of the people that they paid a lot of money to is known to be highly anti-trans, and it's just weird to me to give a check of like don't remember exact amount. I will link the article, but like hundreds of thousands of dollars to someone who, again, is profiting from hate speech. And I have several family members who are trans, so that's not something that I really want to be supporting and a part of. And it weirds me out that the founders of the company would specifically like want that writer to be a part of their platform. From a financial point, it seems to have been making them lots of money, but from a moral standpoint, I find it very problematic. So yeah, so these are my thoughts about Substack. If you want to know where I'm going to be writing in the future, I'm going to make another video about that, but I've been thinking about this video for a while and I wanted to share it. Thanks for watching.